You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. We are back from SEC football media days. And as is customary, the media the final day is issued their ballot via email to vote for the preseason All-SEC team and then also to vote for the champion. You pick a West champion, and a West order of finish, an East order of finish, an overall champion, and then it spits out exactly what the media predicts. It's worth noting that this year there were 8 teams that got at least one vote to win the Southeastern Conference. And to no surprise of anyone, Georgia, the overwhelming favorite to win the Southeastern Conference with 181 votes. Alabama was second with 62. LSU was third with 31. Tennessee and Vanderbilt each got 5 votes, just to show that some people think this is a total joke and don't take it seriously at all. Arkansas and Auburn, 2 votes apiece. Mississippi State, Texas A&M, South Carolina, each with 1 vote to win the league. Again, that's not their division. That's to win the league. The reason this is significant, this is the first time in 10 years, first time since 2015 that someone other than Alabama has been picked to win the SEC. The last time Alabama was not picked to win the SEC was back in 2015 when Auburn was picked to win the league. If you remember, 2015 Auburn had Jeremy Johnson as their quarterback, and Jeremy Johnson was supposed to be the dude, man. He was this big physical guy and big arm, and a lot of people were really high on Auburn there. They were just a couple of years removed from playing for a national championship, and we're all sitting there thinking, man, you get Gus Malzahn with that guy, Jeremy Johnson, in his offense, and boy, it's going to go really great for Auburn, and they're going to win the SEC, and they went 7-6. They were 2-6 in the conference. So maybe a little gree-gree on Georgia. I don't think it'll be that severe. If there's any consolation, if you're an LSU fan, hoping that the league will, in fact, the media will, in fact, get this wrong, and Georgia won't win the league, and maybe LSU will. The media has voted on preseason All-SEC in order of finish every year since 1992. And since 1992, that's 31 years, by the way, the media has correctly predicted the champion 9 times. 9 times in 31 years. It's crap. None of us know. Sometimes it's easy. Sometimes we think it's easy. Usually, it just goes to show you the SEC is really good top to bottom, and it's hard to project. No one should be surprised, however, that Georgia was picked to win the SEC. What I talked about all week, if you followed our shows, and thank you for doing so, what I found interesting and what I was most looking forward to was the projected order of finish in the respective divisions. I was looking forward to seeing how the media was going to vote for the West. Like, we knew, of course, that Georgia was going to be picked to win the East, and they were, but the question was about the West. And all this week, everyone that I spoke with, if you listen to our coverage, that I talked to everyone about their projected order of finish and who they were going to pick to win their respective divisions. And it seemed to me, and I said it over and over all week, that LSU was going to be picked to win the West. And apparently, either the majority of the media I spoke with either lied or they are cowards. And once they actually got their ballot, they didn't actually vote for LSU. The voting went exactly how I thought it would, just inversed. Alabama was picked to win the West. They got 165 first-place votes. LSU picked second with 117 votes. Auburn got 4 first-place votes. Arkansas got 3. Mississippi State, Texas A&M, 1 apiece. So 6 of the 7 schools in the West got a vote to win the division. In the East, Georgia was a runaway winner with 265 votes. Tennessee, 14. South Carolina, 3. Kentucky, 1. And last place, Vanderbilt, got 8 votes to win the East. Again, proof that there are just people there who don't take this seriously at all. And I quite honestly don't blame them if that's what they choose to do. But I do want to put some context around how close the LSU-Alabama vote was. And I don't love to throw out numbers on radio because numbers, we say it all the time, it's confusing. You're driving around. If you're listening to us, I know some of you are watching, so you'll see the graphics, and that changes things a bit. But in the last 5 years, Alabama has gotten 94.9% of the first place votes in the West. There are only 7 votes over the previous 2 years that had anyone else at the top of the ballot. So if you go back and look at 2021 and 2022, 21, A&M, LSU, Ole Miss, and Arkansas each got 1 vote. Bama got 130. Last year, Bama got 177 votes. A&M got 3. Arkansas got 1. That was it. So in the last 2 years, there have been a total of 7 votes for anyone other than Alabama to win the West. This year, LSU and Alabama were virtually neck and neck. Bama got 165 votes. LSU got 117. I thought that would be flipped. But it does go to show and illustrate how much people are questioning Alabama. And I give you all of these numbers, not to sit here and say memorize percentages or voting for the media. My point is, for a decade, for a literal decade, going back to 2015, every year, the last 10 times, Alabama has been picked to win the overall SEC championship. Of course, the West, but the overall SEC championship. And a runaway choice to pick to win the West. Everyone gives Alabama the benefit of the doubt. You lose Tua, doesn't matter. You lose Mac Jones, doesn't matter. You lose Bryce Young, now matters. And I think everyone looks at what Alabama was a year ago. And they were a team that really struggled to put away an A&M team that finished 5-7. Ole Miss had a pass into the end zone on the final play of the game to beat them. Texas had them dead to rights, but they wiggled off the hook thanks to Bryce Young. The only reason they were in the game late and rallied against LSU was Bryce Young. Same thing when they rallied against Tennessee, when they were down big early. Bryce Young. Well, now Bryce Young's gone. And you look around and go, what else do they have? All the things we've been talking about here for several months manifest over these last 4 days at SEC Media Days, because that is the general feeling about this team. And maybe that's all the rat poison that Nick Saban needs. Well, I guess the praise is the rat poison. But everything maybe all of this is just going to motivate them to go out and ball out. But the reality is they're not as good at the line of scrimmage. They're not going to be as good at quarterback. They certainly don't have the name brand skill guys at receiver and running back that we're used to seeing at Alabama. It's serious questions there. You lose both coordinators. I'm not saying they won't win. I'm just saying what I've said all along. You're right to question it. I'll share my preseason all SEC ballot with you and my projected order of finish as well if you're interested. Maybe I can go ahead and tweet this out as well. I don't know if everybody is super duper interested, but in case you are, I'm trying to frame this up for you, Paulie. I don't know that I'm going to be able to. It doesn't look like it's going to work for me. Here's what I picked in the East. In the West. I did pick LSU to win the West. I went LSU, Alabama, and I actually screwed up here. I have Texas A&M 3 and Ole Miss 4. I meant to inverse those, and I fat-fingered it and just realized it this morning, and I meant to invert those. But I have A&M 3, Ole Miss 4. Auburn, Arkansas, Mississippi State. And I'll tell you why, even though I screwed up my vote. The reason I like Ole Miss better, that game with Ole Miss and Texas A&M is in Oxford. Yes, Ole Miss has to go to Georgia, but A&M has to go to Tennessee, so they're rotating cross-divisional. I think both teams take a loss, and they're rotating cross-divisional in a really tough road game. And I like Ole Miss head-to-head against A&M in Oxford. So I think you have LSU, Alabama, and then a whole weird hodgepodge of 4-4, 3-5 in the West, and tiebreakers are going to matter. The big one, I think that's going to surprise some people. I have Auburn finishing 5th. That's just a nod to Hugh Freeze. Arkansas 6th. People are going to be surprised because KJ Jefferson's back. I just don't think their roster is good enough, and I don't think Sam Pittman's a good enough coach to get him over the hump. In the East, I have Georgia winning it, Tennessee 2nd, and I like South Carolina 3rd in that division, followed by Kentucky, who's got a lot of veteran players on their team. Florida 5th, Missouri, and Vanderbilt is how I picked it. And I did pick LSU to win the SEC. I was one of the 31 that picked the Tigers. I think that LSU will win the West. They'll get back to Atlanta, and they'll get a chance to take a swing at Georgia for the second consecutive year. And I like the Tigers. So I did pick LSU. I'm one of 31 that picked LSU. I've told y'all before, I've got LSU 11-1 on this season. I do think they'll be in Atlanta, and I think they'll have a great chance to go beat Georgia, play themselves into a playoff. So we're all usually wrong on this, but that's how I voted. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.